we begin this conversation with Trey Lance. The 49ers took him. John Lynch told reporters afterwards they'd known for over a week, maybe a couple weeks. They told Jed York apparently Wednesday that was going to be their pick. This is the pick that you and I predicted a few weeks ago. Not to say that it was obvious or that we were pounding our chest the whole time going, it's Trey Lance, don't listen to anybody else. But this is the one that we felt made the most sense. And all the John Beck stuff, all of that makes sense. And it makes, I will say this, it makes the last month worth it, that is where they finished.
I think you start putting the pieces to the puzzle together, and we've talked a lot about this tonight, but, for those listening on the podcast, obviously you're here, is that I think the moment they made the trade, this guy was the top of the list of the three guys. And when Trevor Lawrence won, they thought Zach Wilson was going to go too, so they were picking between three players. Once they got, we'll make the trade. And this guy was circled. And the Mac Jones situation, it just kind of took on a life of its own. The Niners enjoyed it, clearly kind of played it up. But I think Trey Lance, they can say whatever they want. My truth, what I believe, is Trey Lance was their number one guy of the trio. And, I think they feel pretty good about it. I think they didn't have to hide anything. Like you said, John Beck immediately starts working out with him the moment the trade happens. I think Rap Sheet or someone, I saw it on Twitter or someone said it on NFL Network, they started getting film of his workouts because obviously John Beck is just running Niner shit. You feel more and more comfortable the more information you have. John Beck is streamlined information. It's like there's a reason you send people on recon missions, right? In the Army situation, or when you're doing in billions, he's always trying to find information that he doesn't have. The draft is no different. You're trying to do recon. And the better relationship you have with the college coaches, with the individual workout guys, like how many people do you think have tried to develop close relationships with Carson's brother these last couple of years?
Jordan, yeah.
Carson's brothers work with all the top quarterbacks. Same thing with John Beck. Kyle already had that. So he had Justin Fields was with him, and Trey Lance immediately started working with him, and I think they were just getting information that validated probably the wrong word, but made them feel, reinforced what they already thought.
Yeah. The other thing is, and this
hard to validate until he actually plays.
No, but I mean, maybe it validated what, like you said, their preconceived notions of him. And perhaps Trey Lance, even before he started working with John Beck, maybe his people wanted him to be a 49er, and perhaps they communicated to the 49ers, the Panthers are interested. We'd love for him to play for you. Yeah, the Broncos are interested. We'd rather he play for you. That could be a place where the intel comes from. It's why you don't want the player to really know what you're thinking, because the player might tell somebody else that they want to play for that you like them. But what I go back to is, and I said this during the live stream earlier on Thursday night, somebody I talked to who talked to Trey Lance twice told me they thought he was one of the, if not the most impressive quarterback that they'd ever interviewed. Not with a team, so they're not scouting every quarterback. But I think ultimately his mind, we've spent so much time talking about Trey Lance's physical skills as, a match for what the future, really it's not the future, it's what the current NFL superstar quarterbacks look like. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Like, that is why I think he's gotten so much attention. But ultimately, Kyle Shanahan is not drafting Trey Lance if he's not completely comfortable with his mind. If he's not completely comfortable that the stuff that Kirk Cousins learned, the stuff that Matt Ryan learned, Trey Lance can learn. Because Kyle has said it, and I think it's been clear. The physicality, the athleticism, all of that's well and good. Kyle's primary concern is, can you be a pocket passer, right? That's his primary concern. And it makes all the other stuff more dangerous if you can be that. And I think that is probably what the last couple of weeks really hammered home. Watching the film, he didn't play a lot. He played one game last year, but he played a full FCS. I mean, he played 16 games, I think, the year before that, right? Or 15 games, whatever it was.
Well, there's 16 teams to make the playoffs, right? So you go through several rounds on that level.
So that had to be, the last 2 weeks had to be about John Beck. Can this guy learn everything we need him to learn? Can he lead? Can he do all of those things? And once the answer to that is yes, I think, when we think back on the two press conferences Kyle Shanahan has given since they made this trade, what has he spent he spent most of the time talking about complete package quarterbacks. That's what he spent most of the time talking about. And with Mac Jones, I think people were afraid he is going to prioritize one thing over something else, and it's going to cost him a premium prospect. But I think if we learn one thing looking back on the last 2 press conferences he gave, he has talked about, I want Drew Brees upstairs, I want Lamar Jackson's legs, right? I want a complete player. I want a player who would have been good 40 years ago and would be good 40 years from now. And I think that's pretty encouraging because, again, I don't think he's drafting this guy based solely on the physical talent. And I'm not going out on some limb saying that. We know what Kyle needs from his quarterbacks.
I think people, and we talked about right after the Drew Brees comment, was the thing that everyone piggybacked. And everyone thought he was looking for Drew Brees. And people were like, why? How does he think Mac Jones? It was, we want Drew Brees with Lamar Jackson's ability. Like, when you really read the comment, like, that was the comment.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately, like, looking back, like, that was, I'm not saying Trey Lance. I mean, if they get Drew Brees meets Lamar Jackson, Kyle Shanahan's going to become a fucking legend, right? They just, hell, they would die to just have like a top 10 quarterback, right? That would be best case scenario. But ultimately, he took the guy that he thought had the highest ceiling. And they clearly viewed Trey Lance higher than Justin Fields. And all anyone wanted was, if you're going to mortgage this much, it's about the ceiling. If you're going to mortgage the future, swing for the fences. Part of the Jalen Ramsey and Jamal Adams trade was they're swinging for the fences, but they know what they're getting. Anytime with a draft, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or whether it's whoever, some random offensive lineman in the first round, if you're projecting, you don't know. You do not know. For every Andrew Luck, there's, Tim Couches and Ryan Leafs and Trent Dilfers. I mean, we have a long, long resume of both sides at all positions. We talk about it the most with the quarterbacks, but from AJ Jenkins to Danny Watkins, we've seen them all.
Danny Watkins is a name a lot of people mention. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, that is it. But we just
Go ahead
wanted
and Google
him.
That, everybody.
We wanted him to not think like a coach and think like a big picture personnel guy. Think like Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh, give him credit for being a coach. What made him such a great general manager was seeing the big picture on Steve Young, was seeing the big picture on Ronnie Lott, was seeing the big picture on Jerry Rice from Mississippi Valley State. And I give Kyle credit. It's weird. I mean, you shouldn't, that should be what you'd want out of your elite coach. But, okay, he did something that Sean Payton, that Sean McVay, that Andy would do. And I think a lot of people question that, and rightfully so. But those questions ended. Now we'll see how it works, but he's willing to be open-minded and take a swing for the fence because, let me repeat, this is a risky fucking pick. Small school guy, 1-year starter. Weren't they scheduled to play Oregon week 1 before Ohio State?
No, I think that was North Dakota. I thought. Was it North Dakota State?
No, I think it was North Dakota State.
I remember thinking it was North Dakota State and then wondering if it was...
You've done North Dakota games before.
I've done North Dakota games, yeah. Maybe it was North Dakota State.
But regardless, if this season had been normal, who knows, right? Maybe he was
North Dakota State.
If this season happened, maybe it was he's the lock number 2 pick because he just dominated again. It was sweet. Maybe it didn't go as well. And it was he ended up going back to school. Who knows? It's the great unknown, right, this season, where it wasn't an unknown for Mac Jones. It wasn't unknown for Justin Fields. It wasn't unknown for Zach Wilson. It's Trevor Lawrence. Those guys kicked ass. We don't know. But I appreciate the ability to take a big risk and suck it up for him because the personnel guys always willing to do it. Some coaches shy away. I'd say the best ones. I mean, Andy Reid's taken his team to 3 straight championship games and gone to back-to-back Super Bowls because he was willing to be on board with it. Now, he liked the player or whatever, but a lot of times people like players should we really give up that much? Should we really give up that much? And you hammered it home, the risk of not doing stuff, part of the Saints never doing something crazy has led them to kind of be in the situation they're at now. What if they had just said, screw it, let's trade 3 first-rounders, go up and get Mahomes? They'd have fucking Patrick Mahomes now.
Yeah.
So it's just, you just look back. How many times, if you were just having beers with Sean Payton, he's like, God, I knew it in my gut, and I didn't give Mickey. I said, no, it's a little too much, and we didn't do it. Right. Because the one thing when the trade happened, the overwhelming reaction was, and rightfully so, that's a lot.
The Niners trade.
Just the amount of picks they gave up.
Yeah. But again, I think they were validated by the trade that ultimately the Bears made to go up 9 spots to draft a quarterback from 20 to 11 to get Fields. I think they were validated by the fact that Justin Fields didn't go 4 a little bit, that Mac Jones didn't go 8, that the guy they ultimately drafted, they might have made the right bet, that was the guy that the Panthers would have taken, that was the guy maybe the Broncos would have taken. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's a risky pick. I don't know that it's any more risky than most quarterback picks are. I don't view it as any more risky than the pick that the Jets made. So I think part of this is, and this goes back to the clip
he's
that you
played
loved.
a lot. He's played a lot more though. Like you have a lot more evidence
I'm just saying,
on Zach
like,
Wilson, good or bad.
Yeah, ultimately the risk comes down to how comfortable you are with the guy too. Like I think this is why I go back to, like, I think they're really comfortable with this guy, and part of it is all the work they've done on him. But it goes back to a clip that I know you loved. This even before Mel Kiper came on our show. His plea to scout with anticipation. You got to scout with anticipation, right? That was his plea. And I think part of what that means from a coach's standpoint is you're a coach. You always say this. You get paid the big bucks. Coach him up. And that to me is what's so interesting here is we've had Kyle. We see him scheme with running backs. We see him draft talented receivers and know how to use them. We've seen him help quarterbacks that we don't think have high ceilings reach their best abilities, right? Like I think the Kirk Cousins thing, he should get a ton of, you made the point during the live stream, a ton of credit on Kirk. Because it wasn't about, is Kirk your ideal? It's, did you get the most out of Kirk Cousins? And the answer to that is hell yeah. So this now, to me, is a new chapter of Kyle Shanahan's head coaching career, because we move from Kyle Shanahan, the schemer, to Kyle Shanahan, the position coach. And I think that's fascinating. And if Trey Lance is the guy, if he just nailed this pick, then Kyle Shanahan is the coach of the 49ers for, I mean, you can hand him a blank contract and the number can be as big as you want and the years can be blank and Kyle can fill it in. If he nailed this pick, he's the coach of the 49ers for a long-ass time.
Well, he's already, he wasn't going anywhere for a while anyway, but I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah. It's just, this is it. This is it right here.
Well, part of like Mahomes getting it right with Andy, and I think going back like when Sean Payton nailed the Drew Brees signing, like you're the coach in a franchise like that, and the Niners similar situation when Kyle got here, they were desperate till you don't want to be the coach anymore. I mean, Sean Payton got kicked out of the league for a year. I was like, yeah, he's our guy.
Yeah.
Right. Until Andy wants to retire, he's a coach there. Same with Bill. Like even Mike Tomlin got to the point where it's like, yeah, he's so good. Like we just our guy. And this is different because this is his coach, the quarterback. Pete Carroll and Russell are just kind of tied at the hip, even as it's gotten weird. I saw Pete came out and said, like, we're good. We've talked it out. He simmered that fire quick.
You wonder if that's going to happen with the Packers, but I love it. I love it. Just remember, this is what we thought. We did the live stream. We both said we thought that was going to be the pick before the pick. We can
wavered.
Huh? Well, we all waver. I'm not. Again, I don't want to rewrite history here and pretend like we told you. I'm not saying that, but I think what we did say the whole time was something's fishy on this Mac Jones thing. It doesn't mean I was never afraid that they were going to draft Mac Jones, that you weren't. It might have been true for all we knew, but you and I both from the jump said something doesn't. This is weird, and it turned out to be wrong. That's all.
Agreed.